While I was reading a collection of Edgar Allan Poe's short stories, I started to imagine a small diorama, almost like a caricature, that would include his stories, characters, and that dark, twisted atmosphere so characteristic of Gothic horror. This video is basically the result of mixing classic literature with 3D, experimenting with a fast workflow, but without losing creative control. The first thing I'm going to do is use Character Creator 5 to generate the base for my character. So I'll start with the New Actor Mixer feature and move the slider down to the Neutral Tune character. Since the character will be an adult, I go to the Hand Morphs and adjust the sliders to give it that look. With the base created, I can now send it to ZBrush using Gozy. I select Create to generate a new file. In this case, I'm not going to send diffuse or normal maps. I leave the subdivisions at their default settings and click Go Z. With the character now in ZBrush, I start sculpting at the lowest subdivision levels, always keeping in mind the facial deformation regions, so that expressions will work well later in CC5. Little by little, I gradually start shaping the face exactly the way I want it. First by using the lowest subdivision levels available, and then moving up as I need more resolution. I create the mustache and eyebrows by drawing a mask directly on the face and using the Extract function. I shape and lightly detail them with the /2 brush. I extract the hair in the same way, play around with the shapes until I get the desired result, and finally I add a few loose strands. I'm going to create the clothes directly from the body, duplicating the subtool and creating polygroups in the shape of each garment to generate the new elements. This time I'm going to work with a mesh without thickness and a very low polygon count, keeping the shapes as simple as possible. Once the scarf is modeled, the character is all set. So now we'll move on to the rest of the elements in the composition. For the crow, I'm going to reuse Susie from K-pop Demon Hunters, a fan art from a previous project. I adjust the proportions and sculpt her new look. Next, I'll create a feather that will be repeated all over the body using nanomesh, working section by section to adjust the orientation to the different parts of the body. For the wing feathers, I also used a custom brush I had made for a previous project and adjusted them manually. With the creation of the crow, the hours just flew by, but it's an important character in the composition, so I wanted to make it myself. To create the armchair, however, I don't want to spend too much time, so I will make the base directly with Hanyan, Tencent's AI for converting images to 3D. I had never used artificial intelligence for this before, and honestly, the result really surprised me. Of course, the UVs are a mess, and I wanted to texture it myself in Substance, so I imported it into ZBrush, sculpted it to my liking, added new elements, and job done. Now that I have the armchair, I'm going to take the character into Character Creator using Gozy+, selecting subdivision levels 0 and 1, and checking the normal and displacement maps so they're generated automatically. Once in Character Creator, and after loading the new HD mesh, I just tell it to update the corresponding body parts and create accessories for the rest of the elements. I always forget to press just bone to fit morph, so I'll have to adjust the bones later. I go to the library to load the skin and eye information. I also automatically correct the position of the eyelashes, and then we move on to the clothing. Thanks to transfer skin weights, we can adjust the behavior of each garment super quickly, including the shoes. I'll leave the hair and the strands as accessories directly linked to the head. As I said before, I forgot to adjust the bones to the new proportions, but all it takes is pressing Adjust Bones to automatically fix them. I adjust the position of the head elements and fix the eyelids so they blink correctly, manually editing the mesh. Just 2 clicks are all you need for the blinking feature to function smoothly and effectively, even when working with these exaggerated cartoon-like eyes. Our character is now ready for action. Next, we'll prepare the pose. So I import the armchair and use one of the sitting poses from the gallery as a base, then adjust it manually. The ease and control with which we can pose our character still seems to me one of the most fun parts of working with Character Creator. Now I'm going to make the eyebrows and mustache behave as they should, so I can add expressions to our characters. I just want to give him a thoughtful and melancholic vibe, so there really isn't much to change. But once again, the control is amazing, and I can express exactly what I want in a super intuitive and fast way. Now I'm going to send the posed character back to ZBrush to make the final adjustments to the diorama. I delete the armchair, select all the character's elements, and press Go Z, leaving all the default values except for the pose, since I want to send the current pose. In just a few moments, our character is already loaded in ZBrush, with all the color information, wrinkles, and all the details we previously generated in Character Creator. When importing the armchair, I realized that I hadn't positioned our friend Edgar correctly, but we can go back to CC5, adjust the position down to the millimeter, and send him back to ZBrush again. Now that everything is where it should be, I can bring in more elements of the composition to place them in their spots and adjust their size. For the clothes, I'm going to use masks, ZBrush's physics, and a bit of manual adjustment. Now I can add thickness to the clothes, and details like wrinkles, buttonholes, buttons, and so on. I'd like to be able to print this piece later on, so I'm going to create a wooden floor that will serve as a base for the future. I'm also going to add a lamp, which I'll create super quickly with ZModeler. Now it's time to texture, so we're going to jump over to Substance Painter. I use some materials from the library and add a few layers to give it a personal touch. A bit more aging to the armchair, fabric texture and dirt on the clothes, translucent elements for the glass or the lamp, and so on. I've got almost everything ready, so I'm going to take it into Marmoset Toolbag to find the final atmosphere. In CC5, I'm going to remove all the elements except for the character itself and export it as an FBX using the Marmoset preset, selecting the current pose and subdivision level 0. When exporting, it will generate the FBX itself and a JSON file. In Marmoset, I use the new Character Creator and iClone Auto Setup plugin to import our file. The JSON file will also be loaded automatically, which contains the information about the maps that will be applied to each part of the body, and the parameters for each material. I'm also going to use the lighting presets provided by this plugin, which will give me a super professional lighting setup and save me a ton of time. I keep loading more elements and drag the maps generated in Substance for each texture. For some objects, I can also use materials from the Marmoset library directly. After adding the lamp, I'm going to place a light inside and use Marmoset's fog to create a low contrast atmosphere, which I think will work really well for this scene. The composition looks a bit empty, so I'll recycle some books from an old project and a cat I made a while ago. I need to modify the cat so it looks like Pluto. Just a couple of simple adjustments will essentially be enough for anyone who's already read the story to easily get the reference. In the end, the whole project took about 10 hours. Most of which were spent on the Raven, texturing, and achieving a good atmosphere for the render. The combination of Character Creator 5 and ZBrush, along with how easy it is to incorporate other tools into the workflow, seems to me to be one of the most effective and fastest ways to achieve high-quality results in record time. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it gave you some ideas to make your workflow more effective. See you very soon. Bye!